Hi, my name is Christine On, and I'm the founder and executive director of Women Cross GMZ, a global movement of women mobilizing to end the Korean War. And I'm honored to join you today in Geneva by video from New York. I'm going to quickly share with you a little PowerPoint presentation about the campaign and why we are doing this. And let me proceed to the next slide. In 1945, Koreans had been under Japanese colonial occupation for 35 years. And instead of receiving their liberation, they received the division of Korea. When, after the defeat of Japan, the United States didn't know what to do with Korea. So two young State Department officials tore a page from the National Geographic and literally drew a line across the 38th parallel. North of it went to the Soviets, south of it went to the United States. And that led for 3 years of military occupations. And then in 1948, two separate states were created, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the north and in the south. And in 1950, North Korea began the Korean War by sending troops across the 38th parallel. And that began a very painful fight between the two Koreas and involved the United States and China and other countries under the UN command. 4 million people were killed. I think this image does a really powerful job to see the civilians that were impacted by this war. In the north, 80% of North Korean cities were flattened to bits by US bombing campaigns. So the war ended not with a peace agreement, but with a temporary truce, a ceasefire. The military commanders of North Korea and the United States, they promised under the armistice agreement to return within 90 days to negotiate a peaceful settlement, which they have yet to do. And so on the 70th anniversary of Korea's division, peacemakers from around the world, we decided to organize a women's peace walk across the DMZ, calling for an end to the Korean War, calling for women's inclusion in the peace process, calling for the reunion of families. And so this is us in China. We held a press conference before we traveled into North Korea. For several days, we spent with North Korean women, including at a peace symposium in Pyongyang, where we heard the impact of the war on North Korean women's lives. And we did a peace march. This is 5,000 North Korean women who joined us in Pyongyang on the road to the DMZ, 2,000 North Korean women in Kaesong. And this is an image of a North Korean woman who cheered us on from her apartment building in Kaesong. She was clearly born in Korea at a time before it was divided. Then we crossed the DMZ and arrived into South Korea, where we marched with 3,000 South Korean women along the barbed wire fences of Paju. And we held a women's peace symposium with hundreds of South Korean women in Seoul. Why do we do this? Because we know that when women are included in peace processes, it leads to a peace agreement, and a far more durable one. So in March of this year, Women Cross GMZ with WFWP, the Nobel Women's Initiative, and a coalition of South Korean women's peace organizations, we launched a campaign, Women Mobilizing to End the Korean War, Korea Peace Now. What we want to achieve or impacted by the end of next year is we want to see a peace building process, including the signing of a peace agreement. We want to see tangible demilitarization that includes denuclearization. We want to see, and we have been seeing the removal of landmines and the bringing down of guard posts because of the inter-Korean peace process. We want to see women's leadership in peace building. We want to see the lifting of sanctions so that the human rights to food, to medicine, to family, to peace can be realized finally. We want to redefine security away from militarism and war to genuine human security. So these are some pictures of our launch. This spring, we did a launch in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Ottawa, Canada, and also in Seoul, South Korea. What do? We do education. We believe it's so vital to provide a baseline understanding of the conflict today. We try to write op-eds and we get coverage in mainstream media. We also tried to educate and train our women to be spokespersons on TV. We believe it's so vital to be seen and to be heard. We engaged with lawmakers. So this is us with in the White House. This is Ministry of Unification, the U.S. Embassy in Seoul, and that's Chrystia Freeland, the Foreign Minister of Canada. Let's see, next slide. We bring women together. We believe it's so vital to do that. And so in last December in Beijing, we brought women together from Northeast Asia to dialogue. And we continue to walk and talk. And so why do we do this? Because we know that the sanctions regime are not achieving its intended goal, which is denuclearization, but in fact harming ordinary North Korean people. The FAO and the WFP issued a report last month saying that 10 million North Koreans are in dire need of food aid, and that the sanctions are having negative consequences on their economy. In fact, a Finnish NGO pulled out from North Korea after 20 years of operations because of the sanctions. And we know that the sanctions are impacting North Korean economy. It's banning the export, for example, of textiles. Who do you think works at these textile factories? But women. Hundreds of thousands of North Korean women's livelihoods are being impacted as a result of these sanctions. And families, the division, the war, the tensions, they are impacting the ability of families to see each other and embrace and hug and love one another. And so we know that in South Korea, 3,000 South Koreans died last year without seeing their loved ones in the north. So just recently, Thomas Quintana, the UN Special Rapporteur on North Korea human rights, he issued this interview, and he said that sanctions are affecting ordinary citizens, and that is their human right, and that it is definitely having lots of problems under international law. So we have to raise our voices, and we really think it's important to end the Korean War as a vital way to improve the human rights of North Korean people and for all Korean people. Nobody wants to live under the constant threat of war. And so last November, I had the chance to sit down with President Carter. He was the one that settled the first nuclear crisis. He says the only way to ensure true security for both Korean and American people is to end the Korean War. And so to do that, women have been working with members of Congress in the United States to introduce a congressional resolution, HR 152, calling for an end to the Korean War with a peace agreement. And we now have 35 co-sponsors. We want to get to 100. So slowly, through grassroots mobilization, women are working to end the Korean War. And so what can you do? You can call on your government to help end the Korean War by supporting the Korea peace process. They can issue a statement at the General Assembly, urge your government to donate, or you yourself donate to NGOs that are working in North Korea. And join our international campaign, Korea Peace Now, Women Mobilizing to End the Korean War. And you can follow us on Twitter at Korea Peace Now, or go to our website, koreapeacenow.org. Now I'm going to end with a short video that hopefully Lois will be able to play. But thank you very much, and please reach out, Christine at womencrossdmz.org. Thank you.